Welcome to this week's Weather Extra. I'm First Alert meteorologist Jillian Johnson. The state of Texas has been slammed with every single type of severe weather you could think of over the past month. And just over the past week alone, Texas has had to deal with feels like temperatures well above 100 degrees, deadly tornadoes, damaging straight line winds, large destructive hail, and flooding rains. We get Weather Extra started this week by taking a look back at the wild week of weather we had right here in the Lone Star State. A deadly tornado outbreak took place throughout Memorial Day weekend. Severe weather tore across the states of Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Kentucky, North Carolina, Virginia, and Texas. 22 people would lose their lives due to the severe weather. There were 4 confirmed tornadoes in North Texas last weekend. An EF3 twister with 135-mile-per-hour winds barreled through Cook County Saturday night, killing 7 people, 4 children, and 3 adults. Over 200 homes and buildings were destroyed, and at one point, over 40,000 people were left in the dark. Another EF3 tornado with winds of 165 miles per hour moved through the community of Salina. This video shows the aftermath of the tornado, revealing several houses destroyed. Then on Monday, another round of severe weather would hit the Metroplex. This was the view out in Mansfield. Destructive hail came crashing down in the evening. Hailstones reached up to sizes of golf balls to baseballs. The combination of the large hail and strong winds caused tree limbs and leaves to come down, and the large hail even smashed out windows on numerous cars and homes. Then Tuesday morning, another complex of severe storms moved through North Texas, bringing wind gusts above 80 miles per hour to many communities throughout DFW. That same storm system would continue traveling southeast down Interstate 45 and bring the severe weather into the Houston area by the afternoon. Severe thunderstorms left trails of damage and knocked out power to more than 1 million Texans on Tuesday. These powerful storms produced baseball-sized hail, flash flooding, and hurricane-force wind gusts that tore roofs from buildings, flipped over vehicles, and snapped huge trees. One of the peak wind gusts within these storms occurred in the Colony, a suburb outside of Dallas. A wind gust report of 95 miles per hour was recorded. That's high-end Category 1 hurricane strength. Near the Houston area, 1 man was killed when a house that was under construction collapsed due to the powerful winds within these thunderstorms. Very heavy rain came pouring down out of the skies across the Lone Star State, leaving many roadways underwater. This is the view out of the Houston area Tuesday afternoon. And in Conroe, Texas, floodwaters rose so fast, which ended up sweeping this truck off the road right into a flooded drainage ditch. A man just happened to drive by at the right time and was able to rescue the man from his truck. The severe weather continued into Wednesday, this time across the western parts of the state. Here's the view of a severe warm storm in the South Plains region. Severe storms dumped huge hail in Marathon, Texas on Wednesday. One local resident said the hail transformed the area into a winter wonderland. And the state of Texas couldn't catch a break as more rounds of heavy rain and severe storms continued Thursday, Friday, and even into the weekend. Additional powerful storms brought more flooding rain, along with large hail and strong winds. It sure was a wild end to the month of May for the Lone Star State. Now, if you're thinking there have been a lot of tornadoes this year, you're right. The 2024 tornado season has been the most active since 2017. As of Friday, May 31st, there have been 912 reported tornadoes across the United States. On average, throughout an entire year, around 1,200 tornadoes hit across the nation. 44 tornadoes were confirmed across the U.S. throughout January, 46 in February, and 49 in March. But as soon as we switched over to spring, the tornado count skyrocketed. 327 tornadoes were confirmed in April. Now, May is typically the most active month for tornadoes across the states, with over 270 twisters occurring on average. And looking at preliminary data, 446 tornadoes have been reported throughout the month of May, which soars above the monthly average. There have also been 38 fatalities caused by these tornadoes across the United States so far this year. Central Texas has been in the heart of our severe weather season. This is the time of the year when tornadoes most likely occur, and that's been the story, especially over the last few weeks. The year started off quiet with no reported tornadoes across Central Texas from January through March, but that all changed as we moved into April. We had 10 confirmed tornadoes in April and 6 throughout the month of May. Our first tornado outbreak of the season occurred on April 26. 6 tornadoes were confirmed that Friday afternoon and evening. That day, there were 2 EF0s, 3 EF1s, and the strongest, which was an EF2 near the McLennan and Hill County line. And 2 days later, we had 4 more tornadoes, this time mainly east of I-35. Thankfully, on that Sunday, April 28th, all the confirmed tornadoes remained at EF0 strength. The active streak of weather continued into the month of May as additional tornadoes moved through parts of central Texas. Most of the month was free of tornadoes, but on Wednesday, May 22nd, 2 powerful tornadoes tore through Bell County. One an EF1 that hit the Little River Academy area, and that powerful EF2 that tore right through Temple. The following day, on the 23rd, 4 more tornadoes were confirmed in our area. The strongest was an EF1 that hit Bruceville Eddy. The other 3 were all rated EF0s. And a family in Temple says they're grateful their quick thinking allowed them to be here today to share their story of surviving the destructive EF2 tornado that tore through on May 22nd. News 10's Jasmine Lotz spoke with the Miller family and shares their story with us.
Standing water is all throughout the Miller house.
Everything's just compromised.
Joseph Miller says this is thanks to Wednesday's tornado.
It was loud. Something I never experienced before,
which tore up their dream home.
I've never seen one in person.
Miller says he was coming from the store and saw the twister getting close to his home, having no choice but to hide under his car with his dog.
Most of my body was hanging out, I couldn't get all the way in there, but yeah, right there by that tire is where me and old Roscoe were. Miller
says while he and Roscoe were hanging on for dear life, debris was flying right at them.
My whole left side of the body is what was getting hit by, all the shingles and wood and everything, and I felt like I was just getting punched by a whole bunch of gorillas.
But Miller says he took the punches and gained power as he rushed inside to help his family.
I have 3 kids under 4 inside and my wife, so I was just thinking about them the whole time.
He says his wife, Allie, was able to save their 3 children. She was able to grab their 1-year-old out the high chair, and seconds later, the window cracked and the high chair flew out the window, meaning both had to act fast and fight for their family's safety.
Blessings to her. She really the one who saved our family. I'm just glad, my family's safe and sound. I can lose all these material things, but I can't replace anybody in my family. This GMC Yukon right here really saved my life at the end of the day.
Once all the chaos calmed it down, Miller saw the damage the tornado left behind.
Our house is probably going to be a complete loss. All the windows are gone, the siding, the fence, there's standing water still in my house.
But his first thought was,
who can I help? Who can I serve? A group of us came together and collect generators and boarding up windows to avoid, anything else from happening.
Showing Texans help Texans, even when they're all going through a disaster together.
Like I said, this is a great community, a great neighborhood, and we really came together, and you can still feel that as of right now.
If you've lived anywhere in Central Texas throughout last month, you know just how busy and destructive it was. Let's recap the wild weather that we saw and find out just how historic May of 2024 was right here in Central Texas. Several rounds of severe weather throughout the month of May have left many Central Texas communities picking up the pieces. From flooding rains to large hail, damaging wind gusts, and powerful tornadoes, we saw it all last month. As you know, the month of May was very wet for us. 18 out of the 31 days saw recorded rainfall at Waco Regional Airport. The wettest day of last month and so far this year was Thursday, May 2nd, when 3.36 inches of rain fell. The last time we saw that much rainfall in a single day was back in August of 2021, when 4.76 inches fell. Now, May is typically the wettest month of the entire year, and we on average see around 4.44 inches of rain in Central Texas. But this year, we more than tripled our monthly average rainfall total throughout the month. 15.28 inches of rain fell at the airport. That means May of 2024 will go down as the wettest May on record for Central Texas. The record we beat last month was nearly 60 years old. The previous wettest month of May was back in 1965 when 15 inches fell. Not only was May of 2024 the wettest May on record, but it was actually the wettest month we have ever seen here in Central Texas. The last time we had 15 inches of rainfall in a single month was back in October of 2015. So this was about a 10-year-old record we beat last month. Now, one of the benefits to the historic rainfall is all the area lakes in Central Texas remain at 100% full. And more good news heading into the summer months is that there's currently no ongoing drought in our area. The heat and humidity were on the rise throughout the month as we all officially recorded our first 90-degree days. Waco and Temple saw their first 90-degree day on Tuesday, May 7th. Killeen actually recorded its first triple-digit day back in February. We on average see our first 90-degree day on the 31st of May, but obviously recorded them way ahead of schedule like we do most years. Last year we saw our first 90-degree day on May the 5th, so 2 days earlier than this year. Coming up next on Weather Extra, it's June, and this new month also brings a new season. On the other side of this break, we'll talk more about what we typically see throughout the month of June weather-wise and have an in-depth look at the Atlantic hurricane season forecast with Sean. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Weather Extra. I find myself saying this at the start of every new month, but this year is truly flying by. It's hard to believe that we're already entering the halfway point of the year. Today, June 2nd, is the 154th day of the year, which means we have 212 more days to go before we head into 2025. Here's a look at what the weather is like on average throughout the month of June here in Central Texas. June is the month when summer officially kicks off here in the Northern Hemisphere. Summer is only 18 days away and starts at 3:51 p.m. on Thursday, June 20th. That day is known as the summer solstice, which is the longest day of the year for the northern half of the globe. The sun sets at 8:29 today, giving us 14 hours and 5 minutes of daylight. But over the next 18 days, we will see the length of our days grow by about 7 minutes, and the sun will set at 8:36 on the first day of the new season. Now let's talk about the climate normals for us in Central Texas throughout the month of June. The first of the month, we typically have a high of 90 degrees. Temperatures climb on average by around 5 degrees throughout the month, and by June 30th, we should have highs around 95 degrees. For morning low temperatures, they start out around 68 on average and warm up to about 73 by the end of the month. The hottest temperature ever recorded in the month of June fell back on the 27th in 1980 when temperatures soared up to 109 degrees. The coldest temperature recorded in June is 52, which happened back in 1919 on the 3rd and on the 1st in 1964. The wettest June day in history was back on June 17th in 1938 when 6.4 inches of rain fell at Waco Regional Airport. The wettest month on record occurred back in 1961 when just over a foot of rain fell. On average, 3.35 inches of rain normally falls throughout the month, making it the second wettest month for Central Texas. Last year, the Waco Regional Airport recorded its first triple-digit day of the year on June 10th. We have not recorded our first 100-degree day for the year just yet. The hottest temperature recorded at Waco Regional so far in 2024 is 94 degrees. Now on average, we typically see our first 100-degree day fall on July the 4th, so we still have some time to go. But oftentimes, just like last year, we record our first triple-digit day way ahead of schedule. The most 100-degree days recorded in the month of June is 17, which happened back in 2022, 2011, and 1998, which are all some of the hottest years for us in Central Texas. Now that we're in the month of June, that also means the Atlantic hurricane season has officially started. Last week on Weather Extra, we heard the forecast from the National Hurricane Center, which said the 2024 season is going to be hyperactive. For an in-depth look at this year's forecast, here's First Alert meteorologist Sean Bellafury.
June 1st means a new season, not only meteorological summer, but the hurricane season has officially begun, and of course everyone wants to know what his hurricane season 2024 are going to bring, and the answer is more likely than not a very active season. 14 named storms is normal, 7 hurricanes and 3 major hurricanes. That's the average. Last year we were right at average for hurricanes and major hurricanes, but we had 20 named storms. Colorado State University, their outlook calls for 23 named storms, 11 hurricanes and 5 major hurricanes, and NOAA and the National Hurricane Center, their preseason outlook calls for 17 to 25 named storms, 8 to 13 hurricanes, and 4 to 7 major hurricanes. This is one of the highest and most active outlooks that NOAA has ever given. And if we get past 21 names, which is certainly possible, we would be completely exhausting the name list for this year, starting with Alberta and ending with William. Now, if we do get through the entirety of the 2024 hurricane season name list, then we would switch over to a supplemental name list. We have not yet used any of the names on this list, but back in 2020, we used the Greek alphabet, and that has since been replaced with this name list. And by the way, if any storm name is retired on the supplemental name list, it will get replaced. And this is used every single hurricane season, no changing in all the years. Now, whenever tropical storms and hurricanes form, they need water temperatures at or above 80 degrees. Of course, converging winds to help to force air upwards, and a lot of moisture, which we have in place across the tropical Atlantic. And unfortunately, even just on June 1st, take a look at how much of the Caribbean Sea, the Gulf of Mexico, and the Atlantic are already seeing sea surface temperatures at or above 80 degrees. Now, one spot that we always typically watch, especially from July into August and September, is what's called the main development region. And even though that main development region does not yet have sea surface temperatures at or above 80 degrees, it does feature warmer than normal sea surface temperatures already. And in fact, the vast majority of the tropical Atlantic is experiencing warmer than normal sea surface temperatures. Along the Gulf Coast, especially in Texas, it's the first 3 months of hurricane season, June, July, and August, that we have to watch out for. And during the month of June, tropical storms and potentially hurricanes typically form close to home, either in the Caribbean Sea, Gulf of Mexico, or off the Atlantic coast. And we have to, of course, watch anything that forms close to home, and especially so in the Caribbean Sea. The average prevailing track in June takes tropical systems usually into Texas. Not the greatest thing after we had one of the rainiest months of all time, May 2024. Reporting in the studio, Sean Bellafiore, KWTX News 10.
All right, thanks, Sean. Did you know that shucked oyster shells from restaurants can be returned to the ocean to build new oyster reefs? Well, in this week's Degrees of Science, Brady Taylor spoke with a scientist from Texas A&M Corpus Christi about their Sink Your Shucks program. We'll hear more about this program on the other side of this break.
This week we're talking about a pretty cool oyster recycling program called Sink Your Shucks. So today we're talking with Natasha Bro. She's from the Hart Research Institute of Gulf of Mexico Studies at Texas A&M Corpus Christi. So Natasha, I guess first off, what exactly is this Sink Your Shucks program?
Hi, thanks for asking. The Sink Your Shucks program is a project that we're really proud of here at Hart. It's a program where to put it very simply, we recycle oyster shells from local restaurants and we put them back out into our local bays. So those oyster shells going into the bays help to restore habitat, to restore reefs that otherwise wouldn't be able to come back to those areas.
So if y'all doing this for 15 years, how many oysters have y'all restored and put back in the Gulf, or habitat have y'all helped out?
Good question. It's a lot of oysters. So we've recycled nearly 3 million pounds of oyster shells, and we've restored about 40 acres of reefs back out in the bay. So that's a pretty neat thing to get to watch and to see. It's quite it's a large volume, and it's a big impact.
Why is it so important to be able to rebuild these reefs for these oysters?
So for a lot of reasons. So oyster reefs do a lot of things for us and for our communities. So the oysters themselves are filtering water. They say a single adult oyster can filter up to 50 gallons of water a day. So if you think about when you scale up to a reef, that's millions of oysters. Think about how many more gallons that is that they're out there cleaning. So when we remove oyster shells from a habitat, we also remove the place where future oysters would grow. So oysters aren't like a clam where they can grow on a mud bottom. They need a place to settle. So putting the shell back out gives a place for those baby oysters that are out in the water column to go and settle. So this is one piece of material that was put out into the bay. And then you can kind of see on here, I used to have a count on this of how many smaller oysters have grown on it, but as you can see, there's a ton. And in every little nook and cranny here, there's gonna be something living. We've got barnacles, we've got marine worms, we've got the oysters themselves. Then, if this were living in the bay, it would have fish and shrimp and crabs. So yeah, it's pretty impactful, I would say.
You can hear more about this Sink Your Shucks program by scanning the QR code on your screen to watch on YouTube, or head over to our website, KWTX.com/degrees of science. Weather Extra will be right back with more. Welcome back to Weather Extra. A new exhibition in London is unlocking some surprising secrets about birds. CBS's Tina Krause shows us how they go back to the dinosaur ages.
So the giant elephant bird laid the world's largest eggs.
Some of the world's most brilliant and bizarre birds are on display at London's Natural History Museum.
It's looking at birds as survivors, the amazing adaptations that they have that have made them one of the most successful animal groups on the planet.
The exhibition starts in the time of the dinosaurs, 150 million years ago, when the first birds began to emerge.
Evidence is now conclusive that birds are a type of dinosaur, and that birds flourished in the time of the dinosaurs across the world. They flew alongside pterosaurs and above Tyrannosaurus rex.
Just weeks ago, a Chicago museum unveiled a rare fossil called Archaeopteryx, one of the earliest known dinosaurs that also qualifies as a bird.
Archaeopteryx is the one fossil that tells us that the birds outside our window are living dinosaurs, and I think that is so cool.
All of the non-bird dinosaurs were wiped out when an asteroid hit Earth 66 million years ago. But a few birds survived, and our feathered friends went on to thrive. There are now more than 11,000 species.
But with a nearly 50% decline in bird species globally, what they're saying to us is that we have got ecosystems which are in trouble.
Experts are urging people to help prevent the second extinction of the dinosaurs by helping to save the birds. Tina Krause, CBS News.
If you're looking for ways to see dinosaurs closer to home, you can check out Dinosaur Valley State Park in Glen Rose, Texas. In a previous episode of Degrees of Science, Brady talked with the park superintendent about how these ancient creatures roamed across the Lone Star State. You can scan the QR code on your screen to find out more about this park that's only an hour and a half away from Waco. Well, that's all we have for you on this week's episode of Weather Extra. Have a great first full week of June. We'll see you right back here next weekend.